Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, Monday night, 17th of January. Well and truly in the thick of things. Round 2 of the AFLW season is complete. We're 59 days away from round 1 of the AFL competition. Got the POM with me. Mate, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, mate. I'm good. We're officially survived 17 days of 2022. So, I mean, that's a great, cracking start.
Yeah, this week's been the longest year of my life, not going to lie.
I was going to say, touch wood, apart from the bad first day at work, it's been a pretty okay year. So long may it continue.
Love it. Love it. We've got a few people in the audience, a few of our originals, Chris Beach, Kira. Lots to get through tonight. I was saying before, there's an actual agenda. We're not having to make anything up. There's quite a lot that has come through the club this week. We're going to talk about the AFLW. We're going to talk about open training for the men, which is this Friday on the 21st of January, and a few themes and issues which have come up throughout the week. So, Pom, I'm actually going to run with the old intro. Just, you know what? Why not? Let's go with it.
It's back!
What's going on? Fucking today!
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
I saw the Carlton supporters and I thank you for a lot.
Dave Simpson playing Glasgow, and there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
I was watching it before, and I heard Mark's voice, and I'm like, nah, we've got to bring it back. Got to bring it back.
There's two bearded people there, one of which would actually physically kill for Carlton, and the other one who would kill for a low interest rate on a mortgage. So I'll let you work out which one's Zach Williams and which one's Mark.
Love it. We've got Josh Lofts, Kev's always around, Maddie in the audience as well. Good evening to you guys, and good evening to our members of the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Thanks very much for your support. This year is going to be very exciting. A few things lined up. I guess off the top of the show, I want to make it's a little announcement for the channel. We're bringing back one of our sponsors from last year. I spoke to Mark Sanders from Doing a Bit. So he's got back on board for the year ahead, which is exciting. There's going to be quite a few giveaways this year with his activewear. I'll be wearing them. He's basically sponsoring the player ratings videos, which we might rebrand as the votes. We'll see how that goes. But very, very grateful to have Doing a Bit back on board, and looking forward to getting an episode of Carlton People done with him as well. So thank you very much, Mark. Pom,
now we know
what's happening in your world, mate? What's that?
Not much, mate. Not much. Just working and kids, just filling time before they go back to school, which is good because that means the shackles are broken, because it's a bit like being in a prison with your kids when they live at home and there all the time. This time of year now, I am over my children. The novelty is worn off, but all good in my end, mate. I'm still here.
No, it's good. Got your watch along going on the weekend. I caught a little bit of it while I was down at the Crown Casino. It was good to see you and Faz running around.
Yeah, Faz dropped probably one of the most shocking scandals in Australian history. He doesn't like Steve Smith, so that he got a lot of views in the chat for that. It was good value. Shout out to Faz if you're there. I know you usually watch this when he's a teacher, so we're his break from children as well. So good day to you, future Faz.
Future Faz. No, I think it's an interesting one. I know a lot of people that are not the biggest fans of the Australian cricket team, but I didn't want to bring it up. But we really pulled the Poms pants down, and I'm not even a cricket fan, mate.
But you are now, because the Poms.
I am now, just to let you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was. I can take banter. But Australians have really gone in hard on the Poms character, and it's not. I'd never be one to throw my fellow countrymen under the bus, but honestly, if you want to say the biggest lot of 11 blokes who are weak as piss, an absolute disgrace to the motherland, well, I think everyone barred Joe Root. I'll give him a free pass because he's one of mine. Yeah, they can all get fucked, mate. Piss off back home and leave me here.
Leave you here on this prison island, mate. This convict island.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, stop embarrassing me. I do enough myself.
100%. Well, we're going to get started. We're going to get right into it because, like I said at the top of the show, there's a lot to get through. We'll start with the AFLW. The girls got a win, a solid win against Geelong. It was a game that changed throughout the week. We planned to play Brisbane up in Maroochydore. It didn't happen. A COVID-affected game. Nothing that we didn't expect that would be happening this season and really for the rest of this year as well, especially once the AFL competition starts in March as well. We hope not, but it's definitely something that we're all prepared for. And you and I sat here, did the watch along, and not going to lie, I was nervous early, but when you look at the game as a whole, it was a really well-rounded performance. And I think there's a few new fans of the AFLW team after that performance from what I noticed.
Oh, yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, you were nervous. I queued in the rack 5 minutes into the third. Like, Pom was confident. I'd put it away. But, it was a massive improvement from game one, which really all you can ask with a new group is that they show you signs. It was nice to see signs as opposed to being told. I don't know if that's new, Carlton, but there was nothing coming out in the week saying, we're working on it. It was quite business as usual, and they actually showed me they had worked on it. The ball movement, particularly in the back half into the midfield, was very, very good. Still a few issues in the forward line. I do worry how these girls would go up against a team who can use the ball a bit and keep up the pressure. Geelong, I thought, fell away quite easy. They didn't put much resistance, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And at the end of the day, a win's a win, isn't it? 4 points is 4 points, no matter how it looks. So there's reasons to be positive. And going into next week, it's going to be a little bit better against the Doggies.
I think so. We had, the talk around the women's team for the most part is, we know we've got Karen Harrington, who we're going to touch on shortly. She was outstanding. One of the best games I've ever seen her play. But then the notion is really about, we've got Prespakis and we need that second or third option. I thought we got that. I know she came on a little bit later in the game, but Georgia G really stepped up in that fourth. Abby McKay, it seems like every time I watch her play, she gets better. There was a girl who I've now learned her name, and she's really caught my attention. Her name is Courtney Jones, and I said it during the broadcast. She's got a new fan in me. I love the way she went about it.
She's got a tough gig as well because she really is the primary target now in the forward line. It seems to be the go-to girl, taking really Taylor's job. And she's stepping into it. It's a big role. It's a tough role. It's a very demanding role, but she presents well. She fights hard as well. And really, if I could give any advice to any men or women who join Carlton Football Club, that is what we're asking for. Like, you don't always have to be 100%, but if you show us you are willing to give it all, we'll never complain. And I really enjoy what she's going about. And more game time, more continuity, she could be quite a find for Carlton.
Yeah, I hope so. I want to go straight to Karen Harrington. I know this is a team sport, but in a season where you've got 10 games and you've lost your first one, the pressure mounts. We know that last year they lost their first 3 in a row. So you lose one, then you lose that second one in a row. And with a team that was less experienced than what they were last season, we needed leadership because we spoke about it last week. We thought the leaders kind of let us down a little bit, just got caught up in some moments that didn't go their way, and you wish they could have them back. But I didn't realize how efficient Harrington was during the game. She had 23 possessions, which is a high tally for an AFLW game. I think anything around 20 is, I guess, almost the equivalent of a 25 to 30 possession game in the men's comp, given that it's they're shorter quarters. She went at 100% disposal efficiency. She took 9 marks, and she was phenomenal. And she just really cemented herself and reminded us, the great leader that she is.
Spot on. I think when you watch her play, I was listening to her post-game talking about learning as a group and the learning she took out of round one. And she spoke like a true captain as well, and a great understanding of the game. She was quick to point out she felt they overused the handball in the middle as an overcorrection from last week, which I think they had to in a way. Sometimes you have to overcorrect because last week it wasn't cited. This week it was maybe overused at times, got them into trouble. But I think what was phenomenal about Kez is that is what you want from a leader. Yeah. She wasn't going to be beaten down the back, which I think gave everyone else confidence, because there was times where they had the same entries as Collingwood. You've got to remember that. It was very similar entries inside 50. Different result was probably Kez was the difference maker there, because not only her intercept marks, when the ball hit the deck, she wasn't beaten. And for your toe to be doing that, very ominous. That's my one fear, though, about the men and the women. I always give you a negative. The backline is so strong. But the problem is the backline is only as strong as the midfield allows it to be. Yeah. Under pressure, could Kez do that all the time? Probably not. We saw it in round one. She was isolated a lot of the time. So that's something that the coaching staff have to see. Kez is brilliant, best in the league, but you've got to give her the opportunity to be the best in the league. If you don't make them tackles in the midfield, she has to do that week in, week out. She isn't going to go at 100% all the time. That's rare as rocking horse poo. But Kez is a superstar, and we're lucky to have her.
Yeah, no, we are. She also spoke today on SEN and brought up a really interesting topic, and I guess this is a good chance to really further dissect it, because it is something that does rear its head. I think especially over the last, 2 seasons, or we'll say the last 18 months. She spoke about her feeling that there is a bit of a tipping point, as she coined it, in the AFLW competition with the players, given what's expected of them. We're moving closer and closer towards a professional expectation. If anything, it's already there. I mean, I watch games and I'm having as much of an expectation for them to win as what I do. Really, it's anyone that dons the Guernsey and wears the logo and the monogram. That's really what it's all about. Doesn't matter if you're a male or female reserves player or not. And she spoke about it. I guess it's very hard for us to really understand where she's coming from, but it's a good conversation starter about, the part-time wages. A lot of them have, part-time / full-time work. They're not getting paid as much. I always had this opinion that, yes, it's at a situation now where the women need to be paid more so they can really fully commit themselves and their time. And I always, over the last few years, have said, well, we'll get there, and it's moving slowly towards that, and it's going to take time. But when you are a player right now, such as Harrington, and you've got to front up and do all the same commitments that the men do, and get paid a little less, I guess I don't know how quickly we can transition that, especially when you think about 4 new clubs coming into the competition next season.
Absolutely nailed it. Absolutely. I mean, my biggest issue for this is that should the girls get paid a living wage? Yes, 100%. And in an ideal world, it'd be awesome if we could pay them what they'll lose from work. Like Kez herself is a physiotherapist and she's working, I think she said 20 hours. Yeah. So you put that in. This is a full-time job, really, being a footballer. Then add that on. It's quite hard. Do you know what I mean? It's quite hard. And she has to probably do that to make ends meet in the terms of her lifestyle. It needs to change, but I think I blame the AFLW themselves for this, because I think that the resources are so widespread for such a limited few that it's very hard for these girls to make that money as a competition to sustain it. Yeah. And then there's the argument that the AFL is hemorrhaging money. So the AFL, with COVID going on, they can't really afford to do it as well. They can't really afford to do that as well. So they can't afford to sustain living wages for female players. And it's that catch-22. This is why I always thought at the time, should have been a smaller comp, make it pro, have 2 or 3 clubs club together to fund a team. And then as it gets a bit bigger and you get that influx of talent where you can sell it to the TV and you can sell it to revenue, that's where it comes in. But what I will take out of this, and this is something that annoys me, why can Kerryn Harrington speak so openly about herself and her own lifestyle so comfortably, but we don't get this from the men? And it blags my head because I want to hear from the players and what their minds are telling me. I don't want to hear this corporate nonsense. Like when Liam Stocker did it, it's brilliant. It's eye-opening. It's sending a message. And for me, it makes me love the game more. Why can't we get the men also being... Is it humble enough? Is it confident enough? Is there a stigma attached? I want the guys to come out and say, you know what? It is tough. I'm away from my family all the time. I want to hear that. I want to hear. I think it's 2022. Why are we not hearing from the men as well about this? Because I reckon the problems Kez has got, the men have got as well in different ways, in different avenues.
Yeah, my best guess for that situation is because I think the men are in a bubble. They're paid very well. They don't do anything else other than play football, and they almost live in this distorted, warped reality for however many years they're in the system. You know, the longer you're in it, the harder it is, as they describe once they retire, the harder it is to integrate back into normal society. They don't have financial issues or time issues like the women do. They might have other issues, such as feeling isolated from the rest of society and having to sort of live in their own little bubble. Whereas the women, they're living in the real world. They're working real jobs. They're working normal jobs. They're not going to have the same issues once they leave footy, you know, coexisting in society. And it is hard to speak on because I'm not in the shoes of Harrington and the women. But when you look at the pay scale and the pay grade, it's definitely, I mean, for what they put on, it's crazy. It's crazy the difference. Now, are we going to get to a point where there's $1 million players in the AFLW? Maybe. Is it going to be anytime soon? I wouldn't guess so. But it's just interesting. I'd love to speak to someone and understand the decision to bring in 4 new clubs next season when we're really just starting to see the current 14 clubs just really find their feet and start to improve. Because one thing I've noticed, I've been watching the AFLW this will be my third full season. It's definitely improved from when I first watched it. No doubt about that. And that comes with time and practice and all these things. But how, is it a situation where you want to bring in 18 clubs, or is it a situation where you want to have a better pay for the players that are currently playing? And I don't know if you can do it both at once, because this conversation is not going away, and it's, if anything, going to be magnified next season and the years following.
Mate, Spawn, I mean, the way I feel, in an ideal world, we could get these girls a livable wage. Because at the moment, whether you like AFLW or not, and you watch it or not, these girls are sacrificing time. And in my opinion, if you sacrifice time, there should be a mandatory reward, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? A mandatory reward. There should be some money. But to answer your question, I think the AFL panicked, and I think the AFL have done what they've always done. Women wanted their own rights, their own comp in its own right, and they've got too excited and they've rushed it out. And no one's thought about, I think, the ramifications. And I look at it another way. How many girls are put off by the fact that they could probably earn more money as a lawyer? Do you know what I mean? Because there comes a point when you're 15, 16 and you have a conversation. I had the conversation as a young golfer. Can I make a crust out of this, though? Can I? Is it worth pursuing? And that's my fear, that you may lose people in the bottom end. In an ideal world, I'd love to see the AFL men maybe come up to a compromise and say, well, you know what? We're earning 6 figures for banter. Maybe we all agree to a 5% pay cut to top it up because we want to see the AFLW thrive. But at the end of the day, they deserve paying. But also, you've got to come into, it's a business, isn't it? How much revenue does the AFLW bring in? And that's back to my point. Why have 18 teams now when you could have condensed it to 6 to 8 teams with quality star-studded teams? That was probably more of a marketable product. That's my question, but that's for the AFL bigwigs, that they won't answer a little pom.
I think so. I mean, I think we could have, and again, I don't know the facts for sure, but from the outside looking in, it just seems like we could have gotten full-time wages quicker had we stayed in the situation we are now with the amount of clubs. And from a selfish point of view, we were lucky to have been one of the foundation clubs, and that's just because we are the Carlton Football Club, and that's just the way it goes. And we're at the top of you have to have a Carlton team, and I get that. But I also worry in a selfish way about 4 new clubs, marquee contracts on offer. Any one of our girls could go, and I hate to say it, and touch wood and all of that, but I don't know. It's an interesting one because I'm really starting to enjoy the group that we do have. And one thing I really struggled to adapt to with the AFLW is the fact that there's such a high turnover year on, year out, I should say. Combine that with the fact that we even lost players last year due to, I don't know, club mismanagement, community culture mismanagement, and they wanted to leave for a better environment. And so, yeah, it's going to pop up a bit more as we go, and it's an issue that's going to be addressed, and I think it's going to be compounded next season. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, round 3 is the Pride game. It's the one we play against the Western Bulldogs every year. It's Pride Week, and we're going to have a really deep discussion about it a little bit tonight, a little bit more on Wednesday night with the AFLW show. Shannon will be hosting that. I believe Nick will be there as well. And I guess we're now, one thing I've also noticed about the AFLW is it's so different to the men's competition in that it has allowed me to see a different viewpoint. I mean, we've just had Darcy Vescio, for example, with her announcement a few weeks ago that she was I should say, were non-binary. I'm still getting used to it. And it's issues like that. It's issues like identity that have sort of forced me to research and understand it, because I don't know a single person that is non-binary, using that issue as an example. And so I think the beautiful thing that the AFLW do is they push the boundaries for what is actually happening in wider society. And I'm grateful that I'm someone that enjoys when what I think I know to be the world to be is added to or is changed, and it forces me to think a little bit more. What's your take on the Pride Week and how it's evolved?
As a young Northerner, I think many of the things that my parents didn't teach me, I learned from sport. Yeah. I remember talking to Eddie Betts and talking to him about Rangers signing the first black player. And I remember that was probably the first time I'd ever seen racism. Do you know what I mean? I'd actually known racism as a thing. Do you know what I mean? Because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood with Indians and Pakistani children. So they weren't really not my race to me because they all spoke like me. They just were really good at cricket, to use a stereotype, but they were nice guys. But then to see that players were abused for the colour of their skin. So I remember that, and that stuck with me, seeing him cry when the Rangers fans sang his name and they asked him why he was crying. He said it was the first time he'd felt accepted. In the terraces, scared me because he was a good footballer. So I think it's good. I'm a firm believer, though, that politics doesn't belong in sport. Right now, this is really important to understand what I'm saying before anyone says you don't want pride. I do want pride. I think this is what you use sport for, to be seen, the S word, to be seen, the poppies on the football shirts in the UK, to be seen. You don't have to make a political statement, just so it's seen, so people understand and ask the question. That's what I think pride does really well. It gives a voice to the voiceless at times. People forget about these in society. I remember reading the pamphlet, and I think it was something like, the stat stuck with me. Someone in the audience might be able to correct me, but I'm sure it was 69% of homosexuals had heard homophobic language said by a coach, involuntary. And that struck me. Do you know what I mean? Because I was thinking, how often does that happen? Do you know what I mean? How often have I heard that myself as a straight white man? How often have I heard a coach say something like that when I was in the UK? And you don't think of the effects. And I think that's what's good. It broadens the mind. People get really offended by it. And I don't understand, because as long as you're learning something of it, I'm sure everyone who hates Pride Round, everyone who has something to say about it, everything who has something to say about AFLW, hugs and kisses their mum. And if one of their friends was gay, they wouldn't give a shit. because you're a normal person. That's what a normal person does. But it's great understanding it. And that's what I think. I'm like you. I want my mind broadened every day. If it starts to narrow, I'm a scary thing. So I love it. And I wish the men would have more rounds. I'd love to see an immigrant round in the AFL. Like, we've got a great Italian, European heritage. Why don't we just embrace our differences? Because that's what makes Australia great. We're different.
No, it's true.
I think
when there's obviously we've evolved from, I think, when the AFLW first started. I mean, the negativity's there. It's there in the comments. It's always there. I think we're getting better at it, and I think there's a misconception that something is being forced down our throats, which is not the case. I find it staggering when I read hate comments. I don't delete them because I want them to stay there, because in my opinion, those comments in 5, 6, 7 years, when they're looked back on, they're going to make the person that wrote them look really, really silly. And hopefully there's a bit of shame and embarrassment from the person writing them. I fail to understand this concept of, at the moment, the world we live in, you have a choice of what you put your eyes to. Nothing's being forced down your throat. The AFLW competition is not being forced down anyone's throat, but people feel the need to go out of their way to let other people know what they don't like. And I find that fascinating, and I hope that evolves as we move on. And I had a discussion with someone at AFL Victoria this week about pride and non-binary people and pronouns, because it's so foreign to me. It's a totally different concept to me. Like I said, I don't know anyone who's in that situation. That's a close friend of mine who I can ask about. And I hope we get to a point where, I would assume that's where we are now with the work we do here on the channel. I don't think I would hope that I wouldn't need to go out of my way to let everyone in the audience know whatever their preferences are, that they are welcomed here. I believe that we should get to a point where that's just a given. That's just well known. And I'm just myself trying to navigate through how to deal with that and how to best represent that, and how to, always being mindful of allowing everyone, whatever their differences are, whether it's their sexuality or their, mental capacity or whatever it is. It's just the club is what brings us all together. Pom, you and I probably wouldn't have met if we didn't follow this fucking club.
Say, look, a well-groomed, tanned lawyer mixing with a little dodgy northerner. It isn't gonna happen, is it? No, you're right. I mean, my two things on this, right? There's this thing on your TV, look, this little red button, right? Now, I don't like seeing Australians getting excited that they're smashing the Poms. So you know what I do? Press this red button, goes away. I put Taylor Swift on. It's not happening. I'm not getting angry about it. So if it does offend you, just turn it off. But I think if there is anyone out there in the audience now and they're worried, and people are saying, like Manny's got a great comment here. I think this is spot on. It's different for women coming out than men. 100% it is, because men are dickheads, right? And I'm going to tell a story, and I hope he watches this. I know my mate Matt does. Matt Jenkins in the UK. We grew up together, and he came out gay. Now, a funny story about Matt. When we were 13, he cheated. My girlfriend cheated on me with him, right? So I remember when we were 21, we went to a pub. He took me to a real quiet part of the bar, and I'm like, this is a bit weird. And he told me he was gay. And my response to him, and I remember he broke down in tears and he hugged me because he said, I wish everyone was like you. And I didn't know what he meant, but a lot of my friends turned their back on him because he was gay. And I said, do you know how many minutes of the night I've stayed awake at night and thought about who you kiss and who you sleep with? 0. I judge you on this, your heart, and I love you, so I don't care. And I just can't believe there is anyone in the audience that would care if a friend, some guy you sat next to, some lady you sat next to, your aunt, your mum, your uncle, your brother, your sister, said that they were non-binary, said that they were gay, said that they felt like they were born in the wrong body, or anything. I just can't believe anyone would give it. Like, I can't believe anyone gives a shit about it. Someone else's choice. Like, my choice I worry about is, are you doing something legal to harm me or illegal? That is my only thing. But, mate, come on, people. It's 2022. Yeah. Like, I couldn't give less of a shit, so no one else should. So if you are in the audience and you do ever feel uncomfortable, just know this Uncle Pom loves anyone. Yeah. I don't care. As long as you're not a prick, I love you with all my heart.
100%. And Blacker out here has made a comment which I relate to a lot. It's a touchy subject. Live my whole 34-year life knowing men as men and women as women. It's not easy to change that all of a sudden. And that was my initial reaction as well. When Darcy made the announcement, my thought process was I was a little frustrated. And the reason why I was frustrated was because I was thinking, because I have to change my behaviors right now. And change is definitely not something we like here in Australia. We do not like to change. We do not like evolution. It's generally met with a bit of resistance. And I guess where my frustration came from was I felt a little vulnerable because we do content. It's like, how am I going to be able to change my subconscious to refer to non-binary people as they or whatever someone's pronouns are? It's just such a new concept to me and for a lot of us as well. And then I thought about it a little bit more, had a few conversations with people. And then in the process of having those conversations with people who know about this issue, I found myself being just better educated around it. And I felt something open up where I was like, oh, okay, I'm learning about something new. I'm learning a little bit more about the human race. And then when you think about it, it takes a lot of guts to do what Darcy's done. A lot of guts. And for anyone, we spoke to David Gould a few years ago, who is one of the leaders there of Carlton Pride. And initially it was about safety, going to the footy, not having to worry about someone making homophobic slurs in the crowd and him feeling safe there and anyone feeling safe there. So I learned back then it was about visibility because of safety. And I guess now we're moving into a different realm of that. So I think it's natural to be a little bit apprehensive because it is challenging what you know to be the real world. But I think it's important because these are real world issues. These aren't just footballers. These are human beings. And that's where I have a lot of respect for Carlton Pride and the way that we represent that and for Darcy as well. And what I did learn is you're not going to be chastised for getting it wrong, referring to someone as she when it should be they. As long as you're able to pick up that and sort of correct yourself and just identify that you're aware of it, that is what is important here. And that's all.
As I say at work, the cheat code for all of this is you give someone the self-respect and the respect every human being deserves and give them a name. Do you know what I mean? If you find it hard to use a pronoun, refer to them by their chosen name. Do you know what I mean? How hard is that? Like, I don't understand it for me. Like, when people say it's hard, I understand it's new. But I always say this, and I said this to my mate the other day. If we're in the pub and someone says, oh, you're right, mate, how you doing? Oh, I didn't catch your name. What is it? And he goes, oh, my name's Dave. Do you say, you're not fucking Dave, you're William? No, my name's Dave. Do you question their identity when you haven't got a Scooby-Doo what they've been through or who they are? You just take them at first value. When they shake their hand and say, hi, I'm David, you're like, is it all right if I call you Dave or Davey or Dave or Big D or something? So I don't get it. I'm really small-minded in this way, and this is the way I think of life. I don't identify as a POM. Ironic that my channel name is. I don't identify with my country. I don't identify as being called Daniel. I just identify that I'm a fucking human. Like, you know what I mean? And for some reason, we're going round the sun and life is shithouse. So I don't worry about all them other things. And that's how I feel I fit in. But I implore anyone who fits themselves into a category. And at the end of the day, it's a bit of human respect, is it not? If someone sits next to you and says, I'd like to be referred to as they or them, how fucking hard is that? That doesn't change your beliefs. If you think there's only men and women, fair play to you. But a bit of human respect and social respect. Would you call someone out in public? Like, I don't. And I don't think normal people do they? Well, I say normal, but to me, that's normal. Like, if I see someone on the street, I don't go, "Oh, why are you wearing blue?" I don't care. Just go about your day.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna learn a little bit more about it throughout the week. I look forward to seeing the AFLW show on Wednesday because Shannon and Nick they're a lot more knowledgeable on the issue than what I am. But I guess it's just, as you said, it's more about you are a human being. End of. And if we can have that be the focal point of the mentality, I think we can get better as a community at it. So
You've got to be
we'll leave it
fired
there.
up. You've got to be fired up. Pom's preaching equality. What
Love
have
it,
you
mate.
done, people?
Love it. All right. So we'll turn to the men. And this Friday, oh, mate, the Kool-Aid, the lid's off. The lid's off. I know exactly how this is going to go down. Friday, the 21st of January, this Friday is the open training session. Touch wood, there hasn't been any hiccups. It's going ahead. For the members of the club, you would have gotten an email today. If you didn't get the email, I'm assuming it'll be in a spam folder or whatever, or it'll show up over the next 24 hours. But we're going back to Icon Park for the first time in, I don't even know how long it's been, and we're going to go watch them train.
I can't even remember. I don't even know what Icon Park looks like anymore.
Exciting. I know exactly how this will play out. I'm going to go there. I'm going to see, 5 players who put on a little bit of size. Training reports will be back. I literally cannot wait to come home, record the training report and post it. That'll be out on Friday afternoon. But there's to get, seeing the girls play, seeing the club, the monogram back out there on the field, and then going to watch the boys train on Friday. I think it's going to start really bubbling. And we've been pretty calm here over the last few months. I guess I'll put the question out to you guys at home. I have this perception of the men's team at the moment. There's just a real different vibe around the fan base. We're not getting sucked in, and we're not getting over the top with the mainstream media reports. Like, they're already coming out. I think Jared Healy had a pump up quote in an article last week. Robert Walls talking about how it's the best list that we've had in the last 10 years or whatever the case may be. And I've noticed the reaction to that, in that the fans are saying, shut up, listen, we're just going to wait and see what happens in round one. So I know within myself, I'm not buying the hope. And to the club's credit, they're not selling it too much. They're not over talking or overstepping with the way that they are portraying things with their content. And I guess the question is, what's your mentality going into the season? Are you just waiting to see what we actually do before you jump on board? Or are you just going to we're all going to get sucked into a degree, and we're all going to get excited, but just think there's a different energy around us at the moment.
You know what I'm like. Jesus.
Yeah, I know what you're like.
Soaked in. Yeah, you know what I'm like. I am. You guys get to see the roller coaster that is my mental state. You know that we're going to see open training, and TDK is going to own Pitternet, and Pom's Mats is down. He's done the squiggle predictor, and I can't see us losing a game. I think what is important, though, is you've said it yourself. The club isn't selling it, and maybe it knows its target audience isn't buying it, which is good, which I think is very good. I was impressed that Carlton girls lost the week before, and there wasn't the usual bump of, we're sorry, we promise we'll do better, we're trying. They just went to work, and that's all we can ask for. There does seem to be an air about a team that is now a team, not a social club. And that does excite me somewhat. This is no longer Carlton Social Club. This is Carlton. We're actually a sports club, and we're here to do something. So open training, hopefully, is just what open training is for other fans. Oh, God, Charlie looks pretty good, doesn't he? Patrick Cripps looks all right. And hopefully it's presented that way. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that I can scadge 4 hours to skip work. That is a work in progress, but I'm excited. I am excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all excited to have the season back and, going to games, watching games. That's natural. But it's a real, I know it's repetitive and we say it every year and it's like, this has to be the year, but I can't see a reality where we're shit this year again and there isn't wholesale changes made to the list. Because, we've changed the coach, we've changed the board, it's squarely on the players. It's just that time. It's just fucking time to mature. It really is. It just is. The majority of this core have done the 3 to 4 preseasons that we all hear about. It's important as a footballer. You've got to get 3 to 4 preseasons under your belt before you can start really playing consistent footy and to your best. And I guess I'm almost fearful of being good as well. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I just don't know if I'm going to believe it. I don't know. It's just a different feeling for me at the moment.
Well, I mean, I think to answer your question about that, it reminds me of when my football team, United, got Ollie. I remember putting a post up. Someone sent me it. It was 2 weeks after he was announced the senior coach. And my quote was, "These dickheads have got the coach they begged for. Now at least we'll know if they don't succeed with him, it's 100% they're rotten to the core and they're arrogant bunches of arseholes." That is what you're going to find out, I think, now, because you had Teague, the guy they wanted. Now they've got a guy in who's a workhorse, who is driven, who is going to be disciplined. United have got Ralph, the ultimate disciplinarian, and you're seeing what's happening there. These players are kicking off and crying because they have to work for a living and there's expectation. I don't think Carlton boys, though, are like that. I think they are up for this fight. And I think the way they're quiet in the media, the biggest noticeable change for me is Cripps and how he's speaking as a human being. He's no longer that guy who's having a bit of a giggle with his mate, Zach Fisher, at the back going, "Oh, I'm head boy." He's now talking like a man who is driven and he's going to lead, and he is the lieutenant of Voss. And that excites me. That excites me. But as Manny says, I've said that now. Tune into the fan cams because I'll probably have a meltdown first loss. Don't worry. That pom's still there.
I tell you what, I'm really, really excited for fan cams because I do believe I do believe we're going to improve. I can't see how we don't improve, right? Like, it was dysfunctional last year. I went back and watched, all of the review videos from last year just to get a sense of when did it break down, and really, I felt like last year it broke down after the Doggies game. We lost our confidence in what we were being instructed to do last season. But with discipline, with standards, and with Michael Voss, and there's no favorites anymore. With the coaching group that is genuinely got experience that we needed and we desired, together with the administrators that we now brought in, can't see how we don't get better. I just can't.
I don't know if that's a statement or you're convincing yourself. You're making me
nervous. I'm doing it a bit of like, it makes sense. Like, I mean, look, listen, last year it made sense that we got Sard and Williams and we were clearly going to improve, but it wasn't to be. So obviously it's not guaranteed. But we're not getting excited about players this preseason. I mean, you look at, there's been one article that's come out. Matt always spoke about, he's excited because he's training is short and sharp and it's all about pressure. This time last year, I remember the articles and the conversations and the quotes were all about, can't wait to play. We're going to have an exciting brand of football. We're going to score high. Like, we're now focusing, the players, from what I'm reading, are focusing on how excited they are to be applying pressure. It's just little things that I'm noticing.
They're definitely more mature. They're definitely, I think when the guy who's running the shit, Cripps, is speaking, I went back and watched his address last year, and it was like something like, it was like a best man speech. Do you know what I mean? And he's looking over at his brother, and his brother's like, "Oh my God, here comes that joke he told us about. He's going to drop it." Like, fart jokes galore. But this was actually sounded like a boss to me. It sounded like, Jesus, I actually listened to it and I was inspired a little bit. I was like, God, wow, Cripps is grown up. He's grown up now. He's a big bona fide man, leader of men, a wrecking ball. So that's exciting. And if that translates to the group, because let's be honest, Carlton have been a Christmas tree, really, the last 5 years. They look fucking good. But really, you just want to throw it away in December and forget about it for a year. So that is Carlton Football Club. We're meant to be a football team. We ain't neighbours. We ain't Harold Bishop going missing at the seafront. We should be a football team.
Yeah.
And they're actually talking like a football team. So will we get anything out of training? Hopefully not, because good training teams in open training give not fuck all away. I don't want to see any songs and dances. I just want to see these players. Yes, you look smart. I'll see you round one. Prove it to me. So, but I'm confident. If you ask me honestly, if we don't make the 8, I'll be mighty upset. They have to make the 8. Look at the age profile of these guys. How many times do these guys want to fail? And they can't fail much more, or they won't be here.
If we have the same experience as last year, I don't know. We'll deal with it.
And I can't believe you're saying the doggies game you gave up. Fucking hell,
No.
Round two, it was game over, bro. Round two,
yeah.
we should have all got COVID and forewarned them about Omicron and just shelved the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm excited for Friday. Hope to see a lot of you there if you're nearby and you're free to get down to training. I think the boys would get a lot out of it as well, seeing fans there, and it just brings back another layer of normality. I mean, we're starting to go to birthday celebrations and weddings and things like that, and I think one of the next and most important steps to feeling normal about the Carlton Footy Club is going to open training, because that's important, especially for, well, I wouldn't say, maybe it is especially for the young kids, because those are the memories you have as a kid, going and watching them train, family days, and feeling the aura of Icon Park and feeling the history there. That those are important memories to put for the kids there, and I guess for us non-kids, us adults, even though we're children at heart always, it's important to go back and just feel that peace again.
Mate, I mean, the only bad thing is, remember, it is memories only. I think you've got to register. So while you're watching us, get into your spam folder and just register your interest. We can't hug Charlie, though. I mean, he's an Adonis. I have not seen Charlie in person for like 3 years. I think it's a crime. A crime. I can't touch him.
It's
just
true.
Once.
He's got the curls back as well. He's looking like 2018
it's
Charlie.
Charlie. It's the Charlie that I know and love.
We're doing it again.
It's a disgrace. Honestly,
It is a
sorry, art
disgrace.
sayers. Sorry, art sayers. Poms can't get Omicron. It's a fact.
Yeah. So for those who've just tuned in, the process for getting to open training, well, this is how it worked for me today. If you're a member of the club, you would have got an email from the club reminding you about open training on Friday. In your email is your member number. You make sure you copy it, you hit the link, you register your ticket, and then you basically just input your member ID, and then it takes you to a screen where you basically fill in your information again, your name, your email address. I'll tell you what, I've given the club my email address easily 47 times in my life. Easily. It's an interesting process. But then you get registered, you get your ticket, and we will see you there. I believe the gates open at 8:30. Voss addresses the players at 9:15 and training starts at 9:30. So that's exciting. That's going to give us a big pep up. So the next item is Sam Doherty again. So 5 days ago, we had the announcement that he would be stepping aside as co-captain. It brought on the discussions about captaincy and leadership. Pom, you brought out a video. I think we even spoke about it last week, or if not the week before. And I guess, the obvious question is about the leadership group and the structure. At the moment, we don't know what it is. If someone in the audience can correct me if I'm wrong, but when we appointed Cripps and Doherty as co-captains, that was done by the club, right? That wasn't voted on by the players. As far as what I understand, that was a club decision. Pom, I'll ask you, I know you've done a video on it, but I'll ask you guys in the audience as well. What would you guess our leadership structure to be? Because when I hear Brian Cook speak, when he first got to the club, about condensing the committees from 16 to 8, it tells me something's going to be trickling along in our team as well, in the way we structure everything at the club. Rather than giving everyone titles to make them feel good, we have a select few who are actually, the responsible ones of the leadership program, and then everyone else is viewed as a leader in their own right.
Yeah, so for those who watch my video, you pretty much nailed it. I fucking hate leadership groups. I find it the most bizarre concept ever to me. Like, why have we got 3 or 4 guys who aren't really captains, but you're a little bit above the other guys, but you're not a captain? It's like I used the example in my video. We have a recycling warden. And if she's watching this, I don't mind saying it, complete fucking Nazi. You've got to go through her to put a fucking piece of paper in the freaking recycling bin. Absolutely mind-blowing to me. But it makes her feel important, right? Do you know what I mean? And then you've got people actually saying, oh, I better go and speak to her because our office has got this bag. And I'm like, just take it to the blue bin. Why? And that's what I think. If I was the supreme leader of Carlton Football Club, Cripps captain, I'd give you dual vice, though. I think maybe you can have 2 vice due to injury and things like that. And I'd have Wheatering and Walsh. But knowing Carlton, you'll probably have 9 blokes on the leadership group. That's old Carlton. And some captains. There'll be maybe some vice captains. I don't like it. I don't see the point. Create ownership and say Cripps, Wheatering and Walsh, they're your pillars. Everyone now has a responsibility to bring up ideas, bring up feedback. You are the captain of yourself. You are a leader. Be a leader.
When I look back at our season launch photos and banners and all of that, there's 8 of them. There's 8 of them, with the captain in the middle, or 6 of them. And it just, I don't know. I think it would be a big statement. And this is just my view. I think it would be a big statement of responsibility if they were to announce, 2 to 3, a captain and a vice captain, or a captain and 2 vice captains, whatever. I think it'd be a big statement for a change in how we do things as well. If anything, having
Melbourne. 2 captain, vice captain, and the statement last year was that it is on the group to present their ideas and be accountable for team performance. So everyone was the leadership group, which is basically what a leadership group should be. Everyone should be a leader.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think just because you're in a leadership group, that doesn't mean you can't, front up to a press conference. I think we have quite a few well-spoken young men in the group. And then there's also this other layer as well of our senior heads, now that we've lost a big chunk of the guys that were 30 plus in Murphy and Casbolt and Betts. Not that they all, spoke in media, but when I look at the makeup of the list now, I mean, obviously Ed Kerno's one of the real senior guys there now. I want to see a guy like Zach Williams emerge more as a leader. I want to see a guy like Adam Saad emerge more as a leader as well. And I'm really keen to see their comfort levels at the club and really taking ownership. I mean, because Adam Chera, he's probably going to take a few weeks to really gel with his new teammates, because there's nothing like matches that can actually, get that synergy. So yeah, it's a watch this space. I'm not sure when they announce the leadership group and the makeup, but we'll definitely be, talking about it until they do. And we'll probably be talking about it, after they do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was mid-February last time from memory. It was mid-February. It's usually right the last couple of weeks before we actually kick a ball in anger. But no, I'm with you. I mean, I want to see next year everyone talking. I want to see Saad, ruffling someone's head and saying, look, it's all right. I've got your back. Go and do it. Because great teams, you look at great teams, look at Melbourne, they have 2 leaders, but you're telling me they're the only 2 leaders on that field. Watch them. Oliver, he's not a captain, plays like a bloody captain. Petrarca, he dragged them over the line in the grand final when their chips were down. They've got a lot of players. No leadership group. No leadership. Like, why do you need it? Like, to me, have the young guys as the leaders, not Ed Kerno, because I love Ed, but he's not going to be there when we win our next flag unless we win it next year. Give it to the young group. I think a captaincy group grows together, like a good management of a company. They grow together and let it go on. Just let it grow. Easy stuff.
Easy stuff, mate. Easy stuff.
What are we fixing next?
Well, the last item on the agenda is the AFL rule changes. So today we got the announcement. There are 2 I don't know if they're rule changes or they're just tightening up a little bit. The first one is the holding the ball rule. Now, you just know this is going to be a contentious one. They really butcher it throughout the season as they go on. I know it's hard. It's a hard game to officiate, but basically the AFL have come out and have said prior opportunity is going to be looked at a little bit more closely. There will be no more of these get tackled, turn 360, and then get rid of the ball. I guess this kind of works well for us in that we don't play the first game of the season, because that generally is the game, like the guinea pig game of the season, and the umpire is still trying to figure it out. And I'm hoping that all the mistakes are made on the Wednesday night and then they, rectify it by the Thursday when we play Richmond. But the other rule change was, what was the other rule change? It was holding the ball, and it was the delaying tactic.
Play.
Now, I don't think we have too much of an issue there with the delaying tactics. It's pretty straightforward. Get the ball back straight away. Don't loop the handball high so it takes some time. But the holding the ball rule, I think everyone's going to struggle a little bit with that. The first person that came to mind for me was Cripps, because part of Cripps's game is drawing players to tackle him because he's strong enough to hold one or two tackles. So I wonder if that's going to, be something that he needs to tinker with.
It could be. I mean, I applaud the AFL in LA because we've had a few issues this week just gone where when you have any law or rule that's open to interpretation, it creates a shitstorm. Now, half of AFL's rules are open to interpretation. And when people say to me, umpiring's so inconsistent, I'm like, read the rule book. Like, do you know what I mean? Read the rule book. Like, you're basically saying one man against another man's interpretation of how long is too long. I think for Cripps, he doesn't really spin round, though, does he? He's too big. Cripps draws the tackle. I think it was interesting. The AFL used a picture of Tom Mitchell. Tom Mitchell's the master of this rule. He kind of pirouettes more times than Darcy Bussell, who played the Swan in Swan Lake and handballs it out. And you're like, he's had about 5 hours to handball that. It's like a test match. I do like it that it's now becoming a grey area. I don't think it will affect Cripps, to be all honest, because Cripps does give the ball away. And when he doesn't, it's annoying. So hopefully it just speeds his thought process up. But yeah, like you say, the round one, the doggies game, it's going to be funny in it because there's going to be players pinged and doing the whole, what?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the other one as well, there was 3. It was a further crackdown on ducking and those that draw the free kicks. Essentially, the Joel Selwoods and whatnot, people love getting on him about it. He's really mastered the shoulder raise. I don't think Joel Selwood ducks. I just think he times his shoulder raise to make the hand slip above the neck and draw the free kick there. But look, we'll see how it all plays out. It's they've flagged it pretty early. They said that they've contacted all the clubs, got their advice on it. Everyone seems to have bought into it. So I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting because things are starting to happen.
It'd be nice if they could bring that into the female game.
Well, yeah.
I'll tell you what, you don't get pinged for holding the ball in the female game. You don't even have to dispose that ball anymore.
It is officiated differently. It really is officiated differently. Yeah.
You see, I'm willing, because I've had a lot off about the women umpires, the umpires that do the women's game. The AFL are watching. Tell you what, it'd be a great episode. Put a camera on me and out umpire a game, and we can get some feedback. But it can't be that fucking hard. Tell you, it can't be that hard to blow your whistle, say holding the ball. Like, it can't be. Just do it. Just
get it done. That's a job.
I could do it. I'll do a Carlton game. You watch 69 free kicks to Carlton, 1 against.
Love it. All right. Well, that was a very quick hour, I must say. A very, very quick hour. Thanks for being here, everybody. Pom, thanks for being here. I will hopefully see some of you on Friday morning at training. If not, we'll see you throughout the week. A few more previews to come. AFLW show on Wednesday. And we really start ramping up from now. I can really feel it. So have a good night and go the Mighty Blues.
Go Blues.